Hello? Hey, anybody there? Hello? Hello? You're doing that.
Hello?
Hey, Lou.
Yes, sir. Hello,
Okay.
Todd.
Yep, this
Was
is
that
a
Mike?
test. No, it's Todd. This is a test. I'm just going to mute you back off. I just want to make sure you're on the phone line.
I'm on a speakerphone right now. I'll pick it up in a bit.
Okay, pick it up. Make sure you pick it up. And then I'm muting you back, and then whenever I need to get you back on, we'll move forward, okay?
Okay.
Wade,
Yeah.
you hear me all right?
Yep.
Okay. And you're on your phone?
Yeah.
Perfect. I'm going to mute you until we need you back, okay?
All right.
Thanks. Hello, this is Todd Neese with Coaching for Life. Just want to make sure everybody can hear me. If you want to chat in, yes, just to make sure everybody's on the line, that would be great. The first thing I'm going to do is I want to make sure everybody's loading up our video that we want to show you to kick off the webinar. If I got a lot of text coming in, so at least everybody knows how to use the chat box. That's perfect. I want to make sure everybody sees this video page because that'll help you load it up while we do some general housekeeping and move forward. Mike Orzen, President of Coaching for Life, he will take us through the next 5 minutes or so, and the slideshow you've been watching, he wants to show you where Coaching for Life's gone and what we're in for 2010, and take you through some general housekeeping things, and then we'll come back to the video and kick off the webinar. So I appreciate everybody coming on tonight, and I'm going to get you over to Mike here in 1 second. We're having some technical difficulty. Mike's got to just dial in, and here he is to explain where we're going.
Hey everybody, it's Mike. We're really excited about tonight. This has really almost been, for me about two and a half years in the making, and for Wade Salem and Lou about 5 or 8 years in the making. And all day today, I can tell you, we felt like it was game time again for us. We got back to that place where we were in high school and college because we worked really hard on this. I spent most of my career in the business world, in my family's business. And when I left and met Wade, and when I was in business, you know, when I was a businessman, I was a businessman. When I was a dad, I was kind of someone else. When I was coaching kids, I was someone else. And what Coaching for Life has done for me is really give me one language. And that's why we think there's so many different entry points here. This is about organizational development. This is about individual development. This is about, you know, and whether your team is a bunch of 5th and 6th grade kids that play football like I coach, whether it's a classroom and a bunch of students, whether it's a family where we have our organization of our family and our kids, whether it is a business where we're trying to develop organizationally. It's all about that development. And for me, my language has become one as a result of my relationship with Wade and Lou Sterrett and the rest of the Coaching for Life team, and what I've learned. You can see that, you know, we've got this slide up at the body, the mind, the social, and the spirit part of an individual and organization. And when we think about what's our vision, what's our mission, what are our core values for our family, for our team, for our business, for our classroom, we think this is the filter we ought to be considering. How are we doing physically, mentally, socially, and in our heart? And if we take into account all those things as we design what we're trying to accomplish. Getting to some general housekeeping, this should be being broadcast to your speakers. If anyone's having any trouble, please chat the host, which is Todd. He can give you a number to call in, and and hit the request phone number button on your viewing tab, chat, right above your chat window there. As I said, there's a lot of different ways to get engaged, a lot of different entry points for Coaching for Life. If you're just a coach, that's great. I mean, that's where we started, and we have different packages. We have silver and gold package. They've got different levels of all the things we offer, from timeouts to these webinars to archives to curriculums to take to the field and truly integrate, be intentional and integrate character development on your team. We think that we have this dream where in a school system, the morning announcements start with a theme of the week. And that theme might be commitment, it might be optimism, it might be mental toughness, it might be preparation. But it starts with the definition of what that character quality is in the morning announcements. And then in the school, you've got in geometry and in English and in the chess club and in National Honor Society and in football and lacrosse and the band and the choir. We're reinforcing this character quality of commitment. What does it mean and how does it apply to what these kids are learning at that particular time? How does commitment apply to algebra? How does commitment apply to football? And not just the definition, but what does it feel like to be committed to those subject matters or those activities that the kids are involved in? As we go through this webinar, if you have questions, please chat the host. The webinar will be about 30 minutes, and then an additional 15 minutes we'll answer questions that you guys have. We'll also be, at some point during the webinar, putting out some poll questions for you guys to just kind of answer while you're listening to Wade and Lou. So not only can you enter as a coach, but your whole team can enter. I mean, so if you have a staff of guys that you want to get on the same page, we think that staff will be more unified, certainly, if they're all kind of participating in these webinars, using the curriculum, getting the timeouts that many of you get, and that will help, again, develop the organization because the leaders are on the same page. Here we have a list of upcoming, the tentative list of upcoming webinars that we're having on coaching and leadership principles. And again, not just principles. One of the things that makes Coaching for Life different is that we want to get to a point where we're not learning about this stuff outside of the activity. It's integrated in what we're doing. It's integrated in drills. It's integrated in the practice plan. The coaches change their language. And so that's our goal here is to dig into these types of principles and then talk about how we integrate it into everyday, every moment actions. We also want, and we'll be asking for some input from you guys on what some topics that might be near and dear to you or some issues that you have that we can dig into as well. We've got a program just for youth teams, and we're excited about that as well. I mean, I heard my son turned 13 yesterday. Somebody I was with said, we really imprint our children to a large degree by the time they're 14 years old. And that really hit home for me. I mean, he's a year away from that. I think there's a wonderful opportunity to have an impact on particularly the 8 to kind of 13 or 14 years old. And a lot of us as coaches, that's where we live because we've got jobs during the day. We love to coach. We love to develop. And so we get involved with youth sports. Again, if you're having any trouble with your speakers, please chat Todd, the host, and he'll help you out. So as I said earlier, the stuff we're digging into in terms of leadership, in terms of organizational development, applies to the family too. Any one of you, all of you are moms and dads probably. We all came from families. That is an organization, and it takes work, it takes love, it takes constant encouragement to be the best mom and dad we can be, husband and wife we can be. That's what we're really here for. We're a lifeline for coaches. We're a lifeline for leaders. We're a lifeline for parents that need some of that encouragement, equipment, and empowerment to kind of lead in a different way. And then in the business world, I mean, it really is, it's another organization, it's another family. And how do we define why we do what we do? How do we, why are we involved in business? What's the bottom line? Certainly money is an issue, net income, but is there more than that? And that's some of the things we'll be digging into tonight with Wade and Lou. So I'm really excited about having Wade and Lou here. We're excited about this vehicle to communicate. We're blown away by the fact that we've got 160 people on this webinar, and we're just thrilled with that. We appreciate your interest and support in what we've been working on for quite a long time. As you can see here, Lou Starr, who you hear a lot from tonight, just put out a book. You can find it on Amazon.com. I've known Lou for, again, about 1.5 years or 2 years. I've been around a lot of incredible and wise leaders and people. He's on the top of the list. I could listen to him all day because he speaks the truth and he speaks about, greatness and how to work on yourself and in your community and with your organization becoming a person of character and leadership. I mean, just a great guy. We're so pleased to have him. So we're excited to introduce Wade and Lou. I'm going to turn it back over to Todd, and we'll get started. Thank you all. I'll be back on with you at the end of the webinar. Thanks for being here.
All right, you guys, everyone should see a full screen view. I'm going to get back the presenter. I want to make sure everybody's loaded up. It should tell us to make sure everybody is loaded up for this video. I got about 70 people. I'm going to unmute Wade and I'm going to unmute Lou, and I want them to just maybe give us an overview of what we're in for tonight for a few minutes until we can get this video so everybody's loaded up. And then we'll watch the 3-minute timeout, and then they'll kick off their PowerPoint. So Wade and Lou, are you guys available?
You bet.
We're
glad to be here.
Okay, perfect. Just give us a little brief overview of what the presentation is going to be like tonight, and then we'll see if they're all loaded up for this video, and then we'll kick it off.
Well, when it gets down to, first of all, welcome to the Coaching for Life webinar. We are extremely excited to what we believe is starting a never-ending coaching class, because I don't know about you, but I continue to learn as a coach, as a parent, as a leader, and I need constant encouragement along the way. And I have also found that at times where I've been to either a conference or a workshop, I got all excited and that I was out the door back to reality, and I usually will default to what I'm comfortable with. And what we have put together with Coaching for Life is an ongoing learning process for you to engage in that will literally go on all year round. We plan to do 24 webinars a year, so that's every other week, the second and fourth Wednesday of each month. If you can't make the live one, if you become a member of the network, there'll be archives for you and recorded, so you can do that at any time. Go watch them. And then we have the 52, the video timeouts. Many of you have heard Lou and myself either live at a clinic or a workshop or a presentation. We're glad many of you are with us tonight, and others we haven't met yet, so we're excited to meet you down the line. But we're really excited about tonight just to kick things off, to capture the heart of your people and really ask the question tonight, as we parent, as we coach, as we lead our business, as we're teaching our classes, what are we really after? And what does it mean to capture the heart? So we want to give you a little foundation to it and a little framework that we can begin to walk out in our daily lives of what it means to capture the heart. Lou, any thoughts to introduce us?
Wade, I've noticed on our guest list, folk that I recognize, obviously they're coaches, they're school district superintendents, they're supervisors, they're counselors, there's cowboys on here, there's veterinarians, there's every gamut from many different countries. Why? Because, the thing we have in common is a universal language, and we have universal needs. And there are things common to all relationships, and each of us have a heart cry of how do we pass on the things that are valuable to us to the people we care about, whether we're coaching them or we're parenting them. And we're going to talk tonight about how you really earn the right to people's hearts, and that's a tough and yet wonderful assignment that we're all privileged to be a part of. And our series will take off from that and give lots of practical tips and encouragements along the way.
Yeah, so we're excited about what we've put together for the first part of this year, and then as we get into May, June, July, we're going to go into the Capture the Heart series, where we will talk about the 6 sequential stages and that are needed to capture the heart of those you're coaching. So hopefully this is, like Mike said earlier, this is a lifeline for you as a coach to come, to be encouraged and equipped and empowered to go out and to intentionally integrate character in your coaching to really impact and influence those around you. I hope it's a place you can come to make sure we can keep the main thing the main thing. One of the struggles I know with many coaches I talk is just trying to be on top of things. And with all the chaos going on in our world and the busyness of games and schedules and driving and places and bills, it's real easy to just lose our real focus of what are we really after. So we're hoping we can be a lifeline to you to keep you on path of the path of excellence in your coaching and what it really means to capture the heart. Todd, any idea of how much longer for the timeout?
No, we're going to start. We're going to go ahead and start the video. We've had stragglers in, coming in here and there. We got about 65 or 70 people who are fully uploaded. We're going to start the video right now, and then as soon as we're done, then we'll jump into the Capture the Heart PowerPoint presentation that you and Lou are going to finish. So I'm going to push play. Wade and Lou should be muted. All right, I'm going to get Wade and Lou back on the line, and we'll move forward. I'm going to sync everybody's display up so everybody should be able to see the PowerPoint on your computer screen, and everybody should see it now. And Wade and Lou, if you're on there, Wade, I'm giving you presenter rights. Go to town, and we'll see you in about a half hour.
You bet. One of the first things that I think when it comes down to capturing the heart that we are after is, why capture the heart? And we're talking about a foundation, of healthy relationships and performance. That's kind of the ultimate goal for us is we want to capture the heart of, you ask the question, why? Well, it's to build great relationships on our team, in our classrooms, in our business, an environment, a place where people want to be part of something bigger than themselves, and obviously performance. We live in a day and age of outcome, a day and age of you better get things done, and we want to increase performance and be teams of excellence. So why do you capture the heart? It's to build something. It's to build a foundation that lasts way beyond the game, that lasts way beyond the classroom. I just talked to a coach today in the weight room, and it was he was talking about his season ended. He resigned from a school, and he just had a Christmas party. We were watching a bowl game after Christmas. He had 18 former players come over to get together, and he said, you know what, it was the first time I've had players over. They were hugging me. They were thanking me, and I was really seeing that I truly was coaching way beyond the season. I'm coaching something different than just a sport. That these kids were thanking him for the time that he poured out to them, and, he's trying to capture the heart of his players, and it shows up when the season's over. And I think that's one of the things I think we all long for as we move forward in our coaching. So capturing the heart of your people is this. We put this up just to kind of, how do we move people from the left side to the right side? And how do we move so we're not just, the right side could be very dull, very robotic, very, just looking for behavior, but we're missing that inside stuff. And Lou, why do you think it's so important we have to move from the left to the right?
Well, you can control or manipulate the outside, but the more you try to put pressure on the outside, as we'll look at later, sometimes the more you suppress or inhibit the development of the inside. It's kind of like a wound. If it scabs over or heals on the surface before there's real healing on the inside or drainage, it actually delays the real healing of the wound. And that's a negative image, but the idea is it drains, it grows from the inside out to have healthy recovery. And then you can trust the healing process because it granulates from the inside out. Whereas when a heart is developed, when a player's motivation is captured, he may grow slower. You can change behavior fast. You can intimidate people, but you really can't generate passion and long-term confidence and desire and thought process unless you give it time to generate from well-planted seeds.
I mean, the issue is how do I take a kid who just has to come to practice? I just have to be here. He's just going through the motions. You yell and scream at him. You try to push him. You try to get more from him. And we want to talk tonight is how do I take that kid that shows up in the classroom and just kind of sitting there, I have to go to school. I have to clean my room. I have to go to work. And how do we turn that to want to? And if we ever get to want to, there's so much more we are after. But here's the question. As a coach, a teacher, a leader, a parent, what's our bottom line? I mean, what is the bottom line we are after in what we do every day? Practices, in the school, continually teaching and coaching and coaching and coaching. The years that we put in. What is the bottom line that makes us tick? When we talk a lot about coaching for life. Go ahead, Luke.
I was fortunate to intersect with a man the other morning in a hotel, and he told me about his Native Indian heritage, and he grew up with 21 brothers and sisters. I thought that was pretty incredible. And he was a relatively young man, and he talked about his job and how he was retired already. And as time went on, he told me about his son is very unmotivated. He said he's lazy. And, of course, then he compared it to his earlier years, how hard he worked as a young man. And, the son actually caught the bottom line of his father. The bottom line of the father was ease and retirement. And the father resented it because he saw his son as lazy. Every one of our audiences always is measuring our bottom line, what really excites us, what really motivates us. I was with another man who was angry at his son for being a party boy. And yet, if you watch the father lived for the approval of other men. These are the kind of things that we don't always see in ourselves, but our followers are always studying it. Why? Because they want our approval.
And what we talk about a lot in Coaching for Life, what Lee and I truly believe is the bottom line is really character. The outcome of a good life is a life of great character. And the definition of character we have up here, but the word that really hit me was it means to scratch and engrave. You know, those qualities and features that make up and distinguish an individual. And so the bottom line of what we're really producing with all those we're coaching, we are producing character. The end line, the end result, really, besides after a scoreboard, and even during the scoreboard, as we're trying to compete, trying to excel in all aspects of life, it is character, because the way we play demonstrates our character. So when we go out and play a game, that's demonstrating who we are. And one of the things that we want to challenge everybody here tonight is that when we're trying to capture the heart, we're really trying to develop the character of those around us, that they can be one of excellence and have great character and living a life that is high and above. They're 10 times better than everybody else around them because of who they are. And that is the importance of character. Lou, why do you see character as such an issue today?
Well, you know, we say character, and you and I understand that you can have bad character or good character. Obviously, you can engrave and scratch on somebody's life in a negative way. Yeah. And so, like when we describe a horse, it's that we say he's a character if he has a negative quality to him, but we say he's a great babysitter or whatever if he has the positive qualities that we like. So character can be negative. It can be patterns that are offensive and rude. And the truth of it is we're always scratching and engraving on somebody's life. Yeah. The key that motivates people to want to change, you know, if somebody comes up and gives us a gift, and it isn't our birthday or it isn't some celebration, and it's kind of a strange time, the first question all of our hearts is, so why are you doing this? Somebody comes up and pays us particular attention, we ask, so what is your interest? If we have a salesperson trying to tell us a product or about a product, we're cautious because we are always looking for what the motivation of their heart is, as to whether it's for our benefit, our true benefit, or it's for their gain. And, of course, we all have mixed motives. And the freedom to scratch and engrave and really promote and provoke positive character is dependent on whether the recipient believes that we have their best interest in mind. So they're looking for our heart in the matter. And if they believe that our heart is right in the matter, they will be more eager to receive the input we give them.
And when we talk about pouring in and scratching and engraving in people's lives, the first step to capture the heart is we got to come to the realization that this is a process. It's not a program. Many of us are event-oriented. We go one event to another. Our society is built on events, whether it's the Super Bowl, March Madness, high school graduation, a wedding. And we all go and celebrate events, but we don't celebrate the process. When you see a team in the Super Bowl, we talk about how great it is working the Super Bowl, but we don't talk about all the time of practice and preseason and lifting weights and watching film. We just sit down in February and get our popcorn and treats and watch this big game, but we're not celebrating the process. Our grandparents and relatives show up to our high school graduations, and, your grandma and grandpa are not in the hallway knocking on your door clapping when you're doing your math on a Thursday night saying, what a great job you're doing, to get you to graduation. And I just love the definition of a process, and that's what we want to take you through tonight, is we're going to create a framework and a process for you to capture the heart of those around you, to kind of give you stepping stones to get to that place to where we need to be. So there's some areas to it. Go ahead, Lou.
Wade, I got to tell you about a real recent incident. It was a difficult situation we were dealing with a staff team on, and there was a great deal of potential disaster and conflict. And as things were faced and they went from the surface debates and accusations and concerns, things that were being expressed, there was not a mean temper in it, but it was delicate issues. And as issues were pressed, it was stated that, this is only the surface problem. And then there was more probing until they got to the heart of the matter, and people began to share some of their pain and their fear and where the real motivation was. When we walked out of that meeting, though it was difficult and it had very precarious times, everyone in that meeting said, I'm so grateful that I've been allowed to sit in on the process of seeing true reconciliation. We can read books, but unless we see people and the process, we don't get the stepping stones to know how to face issues in our life. Wade, now you've been ruining my life for a long time, but I got to tell you, I played my first golf game on New Year's Day. Now, I shouldn't call it a game because we didn't even keep score. Now, I actually got a hold of the ball and had a great time, but, all my assistants there that were playing with me kept saying, keep your head down, keep your head down. Well, you know what? I thought I was. But, every time I'd make a terrible swing, they'd say, keep your head down. Well, I suddenly realized when I'm riding, I say, sit up, breathe deep, keep your legs down. Nobody can do all that. But it took me about 4 or 5 people constantly saying, keep your head down. We can never build character alone. It takes a team effort.
I'm glad you got introduced to the game of misery.
Because it takes help. It takes help to build consistency in our life.
When we talk about the process here, we're going to talk about the areas to address. And what we believe is the ultimate goal when it comes to capturing the heart is love. The ultimate goal of your team, the ultimate goal of your family is really love. And what is love? Love means to sacrifice yourself to benefit someone else. Love means to give, not get. Love means to care. Love means to come outside yourself. And another word maybe besides love, because maybe that doesn't ring for you, is really excellence. So before we start this process as a coach, my ultimate goal is to produce a group of people that are of excellence, that are of love, that truly care. At the end of our season, can we truly sit in our locker room and there's such a love in that room and care and genuine relationships for each other? Or is there pointing fingers? Is there, people walking out, storming out of the room? You just talked about an issue you had with your staff, that something had to be resolved, and people could have walked out, stormed out, and they never saw the process of coming together. But as a coach, to capture the heart, the first thing we're really after is love and excellence. Lou, any other thoughts on that?
Well, no, but except for the fact that as soon as you say that word love in a business world or on a play field, it's like, here's a bunch of wimps. It takes a lot of grit and a lot of truth. And that's why we always link love to courage. It's a daring move to truly love somebody else's needs and to address, prepare to address those issues in a way that builds up and doesn't tear down.
Well, there's 3 things you are after as a coach. The first one you're after is behavior. We're obviously looking for the right behavior. The second thing you are after is attitude. You got to move beyond behavior. I could have a kid, I could blow the whistle in practice. This happened the other day. We had some laziness going on. Some kids were being really hesitant, weren't listening. Blew the whistle, everybody on the line. Well, the behavior, they went to the line, but when they stood there, you could see the attitude in their shoulders, their face, they're complaining. And I said, okay, now we're going to run an extra one because I don't like the attitude. I could get you there for behavior. They could do the right thing on the outside, but really getting down to the attitude issue. And the last thing we're after is heart. That gives us the outcome of the complete player. Now, when we look at these 3 to try to frame this for you, so we can look at this, as I call them the 3 Ps. Performance, being a partner with others, and a person. Lou, what's your thoughts on these 3 in the process of getting deeper to the heart?
Well, certainly, we're just introducing this issue tonight. Behavior is what people see. You can't see attitude, but you can see the effects of attitude. And you don't know somebody else's motivation, but you're always probing to capture it. We look at a frown, and we assume the person has a bad attitude. And the truth of it is they may be very wounded or very angry on the inside. We look at a smile, and we assume that they have a good attitude, and they may be cheerful or generous in heart. This is a very important thing because if you only, in the horse world, if you're only trying to ride the behavior, on a good rodeo night, you might make it. But if they aren't listening, it's a tough ride. But if they're committed to defying you, as Will Rogers once said, there ain't a horse that can't be rode, and there ain't a cowboy that can't be throwed.
Well, it gets down to, I could have my kid tell him to sit down. He could be sitting down, but in his heart, he's standing up. And a lot of times go ahead.
If we get our players and we push on the behavior side, but we keep wounding or frightening their expression, their creativity, their vulnerability, they will keep showing up more and more on the outside. There's so much more on a person's thought and desire and passion is on that field with you because they will find a way to improve their game.
Well, if you look at the outcome over here on the right and you look at the top part here with the body and the social, those are things that are visible. And when you talk about behavior and performance, I can see that. When I talk about attitude, that begins to get into the relationships with others and then the mind. And as you get to the bottom part here with the mind and the spirit to get to the heart, you're moving from the seen to the unseen. And as coaches, here's the question I ask coaches all the time, am I even thinking of the unseen? Because most of the time I'm just looking at the play, the performance, the scoreboard, and I don't even see the other stuff. I disregard it because I'm so into, as I coach, only at one level. And the question we want to ask tonight as leaders and as coaches, am I coaching to get down there to the heart? And if I get there, I get the whole person. I get the very spirit of the player and the spirit of my team, which, like we said earlier, allows you to do something you never could do before.
You know, Wade, as we've done some of these leadership seminars and we deal with these motivations, the question arises in our world of political correctness, do we have the right to really address or direct or have defined expectations in the areas of somebody's attitude or motivation? You know, they show up for work and they say, my life is my life type thing. And I tell companies, you absolutely do not have that right. But you have the responsibility to give direction and to explain and to define the expectations that you have and set the tone, because people will always, if you don't lead, if a wise person doesn't lead, a fool always will.
Yeah. We want to talk now about just a couple tips that is, if we're going to start to capture the heart of our those we're coaching, just to encourage us that are pretty powerful. Number one, every player wants to be found. And you have a group of kids around you that everyone wants. I think that's such a powerful statement. But how many times do we go to a practice or a kid goes week in and week out, and I know places where a kid has never heard their name at practice. I mean, it's been, hey, number 84, hey, 32. Or there's kids on the second string or third string who've never heard their name. Or maybe have never heard it in a positive way. Even if our first string, if we got a kid that's driving you nuts. But every player wants to be found. Lou, you talk about this with horses a lot, that every horse wants to be used.
You know,
every
thousands
horse
of
wants
horses,
to be ridden.
Yeah, of the thousands we've worked. Now, there are a few we've run out of time on. But they want you to care enough about them to release them from their own selfish desires and the ability to be a servant. Hide and seek is a universal game that every child plays. You can be in the waiting line at an airport and somebody have a young child hanging over their back and you play hide and seek with them. You're total strangers, but you're actually playing with the parent's child in front of you because or in the seat of the airplane. Hide and seek is universal, but it also is, the issue is not wanting to be hidden, it's wanting to be found. A little 3-year-old ran down the hallway one day and he hid when his daddy came home and he said, "Daddy, come find me." Well, it was obvious where the kid was, right behind the couch. And of course the father meandered down and looked here and looked there, and suddenly the boy thought he was taking too long and he jumped out and says, "Here I am, Daddy." And the father just about scolded the child and he said, "Son, you're not hiding well enough." And suddenly the father was reminded, it's about being found, it's not about being hidden.
A thing that you said just earlier, though, that really hits me is that helping players find themselves so they can move beyond themselves. I mean, helping that kid go move beyond their selfishness, their world, where they can begin to be useful and be servants to others. And what an awesome responsibility as a coach to create someone that can start thinking beyond themselves, you know, especially in the world we live in. The second tip is, as, you know, leaders, you know, we do not have a right to conquer them, but we must earn their respect, trust, and confidence. You know, just something that's happened recently in college football, just in the last few weeks, there have been 3 coaches that were fired or had to resign because of the way they've treated their players. Now, these 3 coaches were the winningest coaches in their school's history. Which, you know, is leading us to the pendulum is starting to swing back of almost this old school of conquering those around us and dominating and intimidating, those used to work years ago, but the fact that we literally fired 3 of the winningest coaches in the school's history because of issues that came up by the way they treated players, where they're trying to conquer them or just treat them with disrespect or whatever it is, and they got fired, let go. I mean, these were teams going to bowl games. These were teams that in the last few years were very powerful, ranked in the top 20. So if you look at your bottom line on the scoreboard, we could look at a team like that and go, whoa, that's great. But then we look at the interaction of what's going on in the locker room, the practice field, the real world, what is really going on. And Lou, why do we not have a right to conquer those around us?
You know, Wade, does that imply that we just want weak leadership? Oh, you know, you be a namby-pamby and just try to facilitate them or give them whatever they want, like we think of child-centered parenting, or the way the world is talking, that you really can't address real issues or really challenge someone. That's not it at all. But what the world wants, what the generations want, is strong leadership, not dogmatic leadership. Strong leadership is defined by that which gives clear direction and bold vision. But the strength of leadership is also tempered by being approachable. A grandfather may have strong leadership, but he's got to walk small steps, take his grandchild with him. And I think that's the balance of the approachability, and that's that tenderness and strength that both defines the direction and sets the course and praises and motivates people to get there, but earning the right to empower and bring them with them is the key.
You know, the other one here is, bottom line is we have a group of people around us that are really looking for someone to lead them in the place they can't go themselves. And I think that's a great definition of a coach. And there are times when you're coaching and your team is struggling, they're struggling on the field or the court, and then you as a coach are getting frustrated. And that's probably our greatest time to coach, that, you know what, they're just looking for someone to believe in them, someone that can say, you know what, I believe in you. You have what it takes. And to be a leader like that will bring things out of your players that you could never get before. So as you're working with a horse and working with others, how does this statement really, hit home for you?
People don't need to be believed in when they're doing well, when they're getting A's. They're already getting kudos. People need to be believed in when they're not doing well. When in marriages, when we're at our worst, when we're prickly or when we're stubborn and bullheaded, that's the hardest time to show love or respect to one another, but it's the time that it's needed the most. And we tend to pull away from that. We tend to be angry at somebody that may need to be encouraged. We may tend to be passive or indifferent to somebody that needs to be provoked or challenged. When there are many a time when I'll be working with a horse or in a human crisis, and they are not doing well. They've lost perspective. Things have gone from average to very poor. And it's at that time that the trainer faithfully continues to give the horse direction. If you crowd a scared horse, he's going to kill himself, or he's going to come after you. And if you provoke an exasperated child or you frustrate them, you're going to drive them to long-term damage. And that's to give them a way out. Why? Because you believe in them more than they do at the present time. Wade, there's 2 things, we'll probably touch this down the road, that motivate every person and every horse. They all want approval. That's why they're herd animals, or they group to their peers. And they all want rest. They all want, well done, good job. Now, if they get rest the wrong way, through irresponsible behavior, and by jumping the fence and running off or bucking the rider off or being lazy, then they will continue to move that direction because they're motivated to those rewards. If they get their rest by a job well done and by playing their best, they will move to become more responsible in their actions.
Another tip here is, the greatest fear of us as coaches should be damaging their players' confidence. It's an amazing today to see how many coaches, they don't fear that at all. The way they treat their players, what they say in practice when a kid makes a mistake. And, I've seen it, I've witnessed it, and seen coaches just go off on kids. And kids, some kids take stuff like that better than others, but boy, one of our greatest fears should be is that we're wounding the confidence of our players. Lou, why is this happening so often today?
You know, when a child in a family is misbehaving and the parent addresses the child, if the parent is off balance and unwise, not that every parent doesn't make their mistakes, okay, but if they are treated in an extreme and harsh way, it not only wounds the child, but frightens every other observing child. If a coach wrongly embarrasses or ridicules or shames one of their players, it wounds and frightens the whole spirit of the team. Now, if you have a really unruly and arrogant player, he needs to address publicly because he's already violating the whole team. And he's looking for a coach, the team is looking for somebody to put him in his place and stand up to him, and that's another part of the balance. But the danger of wounding that spirit is the fact that that person may keep coming back, but they will withdraw more and more their trust and their respect for that coach.
That's so true. You know, and as a leader, I mean, you said this a little earlier, Lou, but we do not have any power on the inside of those around us. And as much as we hear this term, you know, you want to have the players play with all their heart or have their heart engaged. We're even talking tonight about capturing the heart. As a coach, we have to earn that right to influence. And boy, does that take time. And, you know, and it's a huge responsibility, but it's also a huge honor because when you do get to tap into that. I have a kid on a team that we're coaching right now that very distracted. The physical talent is unbelievable. Mentally, just isn't, focused in and goes the wrong places. And, but you know what? He's picking things up little by little. And the other day I sat him down. I just said, you know what? And, he has no dad in his life. He's just one of those kids. There's a lot going on in his world. I said, I'm really proud of you that you're starting to pick things up little by little. I noticed that. And I noticed you're listening a little bit more. Thank you. He walked away from me and had a huge game that night.
Wade, that's a great segue into a question we have.
Yeah.
Phyllis Wynn asks if we have any experience with autistic team members, and do these principles still apply to? And maybe Lou, you could speak to that a bit. I mean, do the principles still apply to someone with something like autism?
Yes, and of course, we're not going to stand here and say we're the professionals on autism, but we obviously know that autistic persons have great strengths, but they have little flexibility in how they're used, so they need very structured, secure boundaries for them to perform well, so that the person who knows them, again, the more you take away the structure from an autistic person, the less secure they become. And autism has with it an inherent need for clear, directive structure so that person can do well what they can do.
You talked so much about boundaries in the past, Lou, and that's really what you're talking about. Is there's a lot of anxiety when the boundaries lack, and I'm guessing that there's more anxiety with someone like that that has autism, and that's sort of case, correct?
Well, we tend to take the wrong approach, Mike, in terms of because we feel sorry for them or we're trying to be sympathetic to them, we try to be permissive to that person, and that's the worst thing that can happen to them. We need to be structured and give them the framework, and that's not restrictive. That's supportive. That gives them the strength that they need to do well. And that takes an investment of a parent or a leader to make sure that their needs are met so they can do what they do well.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
No, so as we're, going to finish this up here, okay, as a coach now, I want to capture the heart. So what do I need? What is really needed? And, it's a great question about having an autistic child. It just has greater demands on you. But you think of everybody here, the demands as a parent, as a coach, the pressures, everything is going through. So there's three things we just want to talk about as a leader. Is number one is your effort. If kids know if you're trying hard or not. Kids in the classroom know if that teacher's lazy. and knows that, they're really not putting into it. They're just, here, do your work. Doesn't take the time. Kids know. There's times where I know as a parent where I have not put forth the effort. I've come home, I've been tired and distracted, and next thing you know, I didn't put forth that effort. And you do that over a long period of time as a coach with your team, but when you do bring effort and they know you're trying, that earns respect. There's a proverb that says, all hard work leads to profit. And the little quote below there, it's easier to rule over others than just yourself. I think as coaches, oh my gosh, I got, in fact, as my own son, I was helping coach his team last night when we got home. He had a good word for me. He says, Dad, you need to show a little more character, as you're coaching. I'm thinking I'm the character coach. But I'm hearing this, it's so easy to try to rule over others than yourself. But one of the first stages, if I'm going to capture the heart, is, boy, it takes time and it takes a lot of effort. And Lou, why is working at this so hard and so important?
When we all get to one of these round tens and we're working a wild horse, everybody's always kind of laughing at first because I think I'm doing more running than the horse. And, of course, I'm panting and I'm like, and they're all kind of laughing. But if you aren't timely in setting the agenda, giving clear direction, the horse will actually take longer to run and cost more energy. There are places when you must invest wholeheartedly your enthusiasm with timely preparation that will actually save energy in the long run.
The second thing that we need to do if we're going to capture the heart is we need to be faithful. Another word might be consistent. Am I consistent in what I do? Over time, can I be called faithful? And if somebody is, it builds that trust. And as I coach with my team, being there day in and day out and putting forth the effort and being faithful to teach and help them understand and putting it out there and being there and being committed, when that happens, kids will start to open up. We'll move from behavior like we had before up here to attitude. It's the same thing in our life. It's my effort and my attitude as I'm moving forward to get to the heart. And we're always dealing with the spirit of our team. And if I can keep that in mind, it will help me be faithful. Lou, why is faithfulness just so important as a leader?
I think it's probably the basis for structure. Every relationship needs objective and subjective qualities. A house needs solid walls so it can have soft furniture. And the faithfulness is what gives people the consistent reference point. Gravity is a measure of faithfulness, so we all learn how to walk according to a consistent law or practice. And leadership, that's so important because it doesn't mean you're boring or you're just so rote and routine, but there's a trustworthiness in you that has been proven that you will show up, you will keep your word, you'll be on time, you're reliable, you're dependable, because others then can start to make value judgments around the reliability of your commitments.
Well, the other part about that, Lou, is you find out in the middle of games if things are going really bad. I've seen so many coaches just clock out of the game. And all of a sudden, they're not faithful to the end. They literally stop coaching because, they're already down 20 points. It's bad. And kids are looking at that and the faithfulness to build that trust that the guy is faithful and continuing to coach to the end of the game.
That is such an irresponsible. Yeah, it's an irresponsible betrayal. When a team is doing poorly, that's when they need to see the coach the most.
Oh, boy. That's probably our worst time in coaches.
Well, it sure tests our own character, doesn't it?
Yes. And the last one here is we're talking about our effort and energy and being faithful is, to capture the heart is going to take a lot of patience, and it just takes time. But here's where we gain confidence. And here's just a big one I know for me. And, in fact, it's really funny. We finished our first week of practice, JV and varsity here, high school, and I was helping with the team, and, it was really bad. And, it was frustrating as a coach. We're not as far along as we thought. And that night, I went home, and on ESPN, there was the #1 college team in the country was playing the first game of the year. And at halftime, I turned it on, and they were talking about, they're asking the commentator, what was your thoughts on the first half? And the guy goes, so I thought it was really sloppy. I'm sitting there thinking, wait a minute. This is the #1 team in the country in college, and I'm frustrated with my JV and varsity team that we're in with. I went back the next day, and I asked all the players, I said, what do you think the last couple of days of practice been like? And they went, sloppy. I said, That's okay, guys. You know, we're not even the number one team in the country. And to be patient and as a coach is I know Coach Wooden said if there's one thing you pray for as a coach, it's patience. And as a coach, am I a patient instructor and teacher of the game? And if I am, that can give me a great foundation what I need to capture the heart.
You know, Wade, patience is also synonymous with to suffer long. And it means to be timely in your words or to bear the burden in your heart until you can formulate the right words and the right opportunity to invest. Impatience is simply dumping your reaction on somebody who's less mature than you.
Yeah. So when we're looking after this, is the outcome is to build the complete player and wholeness with those around us. So what's really needed is I am, as a coach, going to go after the heart. It is my effort. It's being faithful to build trust and being a patient one to gain confidence with those around me. And there's a proverb that says, above all else, guard your heart, for out of it are the wellspring of life. And what we want to say tonight, you know, as we kick off the Coaching for Life Network, is, you know what, it's all about heart. And as a coach, is that what I'm after? Is that my bottom line? Am I willing to engage the heart, liberate the heart, and set the heart free to really play with creativity and freedom, and that those around me are able to tap into that and be free? And that's why the heart is so important.
You know, Wade, as a coach, in many ways, many different venues, I mean, I've heard it said, and I believe it, that if you've got their heart, you got all of them, right? I mean, you know, whether you're managing a manufacturing plant, leading your family and developing your children, or coaching, again, 5th and 6th graders or high schoolers in any sport. We talk a lot about are our players, do we coach for performance, or are we developing people? And that's really, if you think about that statement, that's what Coaching for Life is really all about, is what is our bottom line, and how do we want to be, you know, how do we want to be remembered by the kids we coach, the people we influence? Yes, net income is important. Yes, at some level we have to have the best performance we can have to continue to have influence. But what is our bottom line? And that's why heart is such a big issue, right?
Well, I went to a recent session here, and the less my audience that was addressing me on some issues could see my heart, the more the issues, the more the argumentation, the more the tensions increased, and the more I was unable to just share my heart on the matters, the greater the trust, the response to trust came out of that. And it's not easy all the time, and that doesn't mean you should be that naive to just put it any place, but it's a very sacred issue. It needs to be wisely invested. A heart reaches a heart, and a mind only reaches a mind.
Yeah. Well, you know, just want to encourage you guys that are out there is that the Coaching for Life Network has begun, and what it really is there's 52 3-minute, we call them the Coaching for Life timeouts, the C4L timeouts. They're 3-minute little videos with Lou and me. We saw one earlier tonight here in the webinar that are emailed to you once a week for you to take a timeout and just take a breather, take a deep breath, and just be reminded why we're coaching. They're great little tidbits. They're great little nuggets for you as a coach. And then there's 24 webinars that we're doing throughout the year that we're creating this ongoing learning process of like a coaching course that never ends for you to be engaged with and have available to you to encourage and equip you in your coaching. So we created this because this is what we're hearing from coaches for long, and to be encouraged and equipped. And we feel like we now have a great venue for you to tap into and be that lifeline for you. So we're looking to get people to get signed up right now. You can just sign up, you know, as an individual, or if you go on our website, you'll be able to sign up as your team, your school, your business, your family, and even work with the curriculum that we have, which is an incredible tool to empower you to make character development a reality. So the network is kicking off tonight. We're starting to sign people up. There's some that have already signed up with this. Our goal is to have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people part of this community, that we're journeying together to capture the heart of those around us. We're honored to be with you tonight. You and I have, the last 6-7 years, have got so much content that we have put together that we now feel we have a great venue to share with you and just to encourage you in this journey so we can all be better coaches, better parents, better leaders. So great being with you tonight. Look forward 2 weeks from now. We're going to talk about authority. And what that really is if I'm in that position as an authority, a coach, a teacher, a parent, what responsibility really is that, and how do I understand how important that is to be an effective leader? And so 2 weeks from now, we're going to talk about authority, and you got the list up there of where we're heading this year. And so we look forward to continuing to work with you along the way, so we can all become so we're truly coaching for life and not just the season. Lou, any last thoughts?
Just a great night. Thanks for being with us.
Okay, guys. We appreciate you spending time with us tonight and talking to the C4L network of people that have logged on tonight. We had about 100 people on at one point, which is a lot more than what we had thought. We had gotten some questions in. I want everybody, we shouldn't be in full screen. Everybody should see the same view that I see at this point. And on the right side, you actually have a chat box, and at the bottom, that little white box, if you click in there, send me questions. Wade and Lou will stay on for a little bit of time yet, and if you guys have questions, please send them in. Mike and myself will ask Wade and Lou the questions, and we'll have them touch on those. So here's Mike, and he's going to ask Wade and Lou some questions and have them touch on things. The other thing that I want to mention before we get started, I'm going to shoot up a thing on your screen that says I'm going to share a file, and basically the file is going to be a zip file that everyone on the webinar tonight can download. It will be a zip file with all of our flyers in it that we showed you at the beginning of the presentation for team, youth team, business, school, family, and you're more than welcome to print those off, share them with people. It has all of our contact information on, and help us get this out and change the world. So here's Mike. He's going to talk about some more questions and have Wade and Lou talk a little bit more.
Thanks, Todd. Great job, Wade and Lou. A couple questions we have. One is from another one from Phyllis Wynn. Phyllis talks about Mike Leach and said that many of the players that Mike Leach coached backed him up totally, and it seems like he captured the hearts of his team. Apparently, he didn't get through Adam James. So how do you make sure that you capture the heart of 100 players? Is that possible? And can one player sink you?
Yeah, it's possible. It's happening. I mean, you can talk to every one of those coaches that were fired. They had players backing them up, former players backing them up. And, it was 1 and 2. Maybe it was, there are all kinds of issues and circumstances that could be in that, where you could have one player on your team cause a whole chaos, and next thing you know, a guy loses his job. And so, yes, that is possible. It's an unfortunate thing, and coaches relate to different players. A lot of coaches, we have some kids that drive us nuts that maybe sometimes we, even in our own attitude, are different towards that player. How do I keep my own heart clean through this before? Because next, I could be doing something to a kid because he's driving me crazy, but others aren't. And, as coaches, I relate better to other players than certain ones I have. So you have a team of 100 people, a lot of different personalities out there. Yeah, you can have, each one of those programs we talked about earlier, whether it's the Texas Tech, South Florida, or, Kansas, every one of those coaches have players stand up for them. So, yeah, it's an issue. Lou, what do you think about that?
Well, you're not going to reach 100 at once, but you want to create an environment and a momentum, and that takes team effort. You're winning the kids is irrelevant. You don't win the fellow team members or the other fellow coaches, you'll never win 100. And that's the first thing you're going to look at. Are all of you coaches in support of one another, just like our mom and dad in support of one another? They're going to look to see if there's a consistent value system that you both adhere to, and that's what allows those under them to build the trust and momentum.
Great. Thanks, guys. Andy Logan from North Canton, Ohio, asked a question. and you touched on this a bit, Lou. Can you talk about the idea of acceptance and how kids will look for it one way or another? Right place acceptance. I know we had a timeout maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago that just spoke right to that. But go ahead, Wade and Lou, talk about kids are going to find acceptance one way or another, aren't they, guys?
Well, they'll look first at your face to see whether you look at them in the eyes, and whether you look at them with an angry frown or whether you look at them with an approachable or acceptance in your own face. And that really stems from your own heart, whether you're looking at people as objects or resources. Well, your values are how you see people, and they watch your values on your countenance. They watch, as Wade mentioned, they listen to whether you call them by name. They listen to the tone of your voice. They're always looking to see whether there's any value of your person in their reflection. And silence, as we'll mention later on, is often interpreted by the child or the athlete as rejection. So it's very challenging to me and others that we should make positive investments by our countenance and by being intentional with our names, or intentional in giving direction, or intentional in our praise to build, to guard the worth of others.
One of the things that you've talked about, Lou, is that the kids will find acceptance in one place or another. A safe place like school, youth athletics with the right-minded coaches, or gangs, or, right? I mean, they're going to look for acceptance from some place, correct?
You know, this sounds coarse, but considering the cowboy in me, we're herd animals. We cannot live without approval. If we can't get it, if the relation with the parent is wounded, we'll find it in our peers. If we find it enough in our peers, we're willing to cut off our relationship with our parents in entirety. If we can't find it in honorable ways and from teachers and coaches, we'll find it with dishonorable ways with hoods and with gangs in disreputable ways. We will find it.
Great. Mike Andrews from Wadsworth, Ohio, asked the question, what's a good method of discipline for a child that just won't listen?
That's a long seminar, and it's going to be more than we're going to cover tonight. I'd suggest my wife's book, The Balance of Loving Discipline. It's a great context to realize that there's a parameter. There are three things that really teach any person that they're loved: eye contact, focused attention, and physical touch. And without them, the person will never believe they're loved, no matter what you say. There are three things that teach a person, that give them structure and discipline, and that's training, reward, and consequence. And without them, they will never have enough structure to believe that they're loved. So
another thing when it comes to discipline is we have to view discipline as not punishment. Discipline is correction. And as a kid didn't take the garbage out, or every time you tell them to do something, doesn't do it, or what we're trying to do is you got to lay out some very clear expectations. Okay, from now on, when I tell you is when you have to do it. And because when they don't do it, the discipline and whatever terms you want to do with your kid or your player is, here, I'm doing this because I'm trying to correct you so you can listen and pay attention. We are going to have, I can't remember, for a couple of weeks from now, we're doing a whole webinar on discipline. And, I'm sure we could stick a few weeks on that one, because that's the one we're all involved with that we don't get taught very well on.
All right, great. Another question is from an old buddy of yours, Wade, Mike Mishler. He just wants to know what the temperature is out there in Phoenix.
It is a horrible 69 degrees and blue sky.
So. We've got a question here. How do you capture the heart of a kid who feels entitled? I know that's isn't that an issue we're all dealing with in our communities, in our society now, is entitlement?
We're gonna be a little opposite to what we've been talking about tonight. The first thing with an entitled person is the person sees that they have no boundaries that he should respect. And Wade referred to some proverbs. The proverb says, "He who despises discipline he who neglects discipline despises himself. And the first way you begin to win the heart of an unruly or boundaryless or lawless person is to be daring enough to define the boundary and go toe-to-toe with him and say, this is what I expect of you. That's not intimidation. That's loving him enough to set a fence that he can begin to say, okay, I realize that not everything is negotiable, not everything is arbitrary. There are absolutes, and you care enough about me to be consistent and defined about those absolutes. And that entitled child, though he will fight and argue as a spoiled child, will eventually come to say thank you for caring about enough to me and give me direction.
Yeah. I mean, for an entitled player, I mean, obviously, it's how do we start helping them think of somebody other than themselves?
Absolutely.
And, so you can have that great, talented, entitled player that, I can show up late for practice, I do whatever I want, and the problem is if we continue to let him get away with that, we're just empowering them to continue to have a lack of responsibility. But now, like Lou just said, you put a line in the sand and say, this is how we do things here.
Yeah, and Wade, isn't that the definition of love, to look outside yourself? And people, you said this, Lou, earlier. I mean, love sounds weak, but it's really hard, and it's not easy, and you really got to work hard at it. We all know that. That's the hardest thing to do, is really give up yourself for the benefit of other people. We got another question from Bill Holden. How do we help a player with incredible skills but lacks confidence? He's afraid to make mistakes. Any advice on that, guys?
Encourage failure. People that are good at something begin to build their life around their strengths. Get a person who's talented to do things they're not talented at. Get them to lose themselves. Get them to get out of their box. Get their mind off of themselves. Talented people get stuck on themselves. They get stuck on their talent, and thus their whole world is limited to whatever their strengths are, and they can never go beyond that.
Excellent. Thanks. From Phil Wilkins, from our experiences, have you discovered any methods more effective to deal with reaching the parents' hearts?
That's another webinar. But as what's happening, as you as a coach begin to lay out a plan to be intentional to really develop the character and heart of your players, you will begin to get buy-in from parents, because also they see you with more of a purpose besides just the game. You're always going to have parental issues. There's always that one or two or three. We had an issue just the other night where a parent came up after halftime right up to the bench and cussed the coach out for not playing the kid. And you're just going, where does this come from? But if you are intentional to build an environment and culture that is after this, parents will start to see it. All I know as a parent is if I know there's a coach out there that deeply cares about my kid and really is after to really develop him as a player and as a teammate and really requires of him excellence, I don't know, you're going to get my buy-in. And as we just start this process, you will begin to eliminate problems. So, those three things you're talking about, effort, being faithful, and being patient, are three incredible things as coaches we need to demonstrate on a daily and weekly and yearly basis. So even when the years where we get this group of kids that isn't as very good, as talented as the other year, do I still coach the same, or now I don't coach as, So those are three things that are just huge to try to create that environment.
Well, one of the things we offer, Wade, is this coach's purpose statement, right? That has vision, mission, values, and what character qualities we want to develop in our kids. If we share that with parents up front, this is why I do what I do, this is how I'm going to do it, that makes a world of difference in, dealing with the parental issues throughout the season, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely, because you're putting what you believe in right there, right away to help push everybody towards your values and towards the goals, what you're after as a team. It helps clarify things. Most coaches don't even have a vision statement. Most coaches couldn't tell us what our core values are. Every coach had them. We have never really written them down and put them down with such clarity and foundation and a framework that is really easy to communicate to those around you, that you can create a whole culture if you have those in place. We call them the 6 essentials to coaching for life: your vision, your mission, core values, your character qualities, your theme of the week, and your character language. And if you have all those functioning in your program and coaching, I'm telling you, it will enhance everything you do, and it'll help you coach with a defined passion and purpose.
Yeah. All right, last question, guys. This is from Scott White. I'm a coach. When is it okay to let a kid go? You want to help this kid, but he isn't getting it. I know you've talked a little bit in the past. I've heard you talk, Lou, about not every horse can be saved, right?
Well, letting them go doesn't mean that you're giving up on them in life. It's just that this is not the right situation for them. Yeah. And there are people that have certain gifts to do certain things. There are people that are not doing well in their job, and you're really saying, listen, one of the things that we have to realize, one of the best ways to dismiss a person is saying, we really want people that are here to be happy. You don't seem to be happy here, and I want to help you find a place where you're happy. How can I suggest some things to you or write a letter of recommendation to you or whatever, help you find what I think you really are good at? Not everybody's an athlete. Not everybody should be on a ball team. And we tend to assume that. But it might mean that you give that person some reflection of where their strengths are. Maybe they did better on a debate panel or a computer club or something like that.
Or go golf by themselves.
Yeah. So, yeah, there are places where you're not giving up on a person. You're just saying, this isn't your cup of tea, and I want to help you find what's right.
And, there's no real concrete, unless, rules have been violated and, stuff on the team. But, when you've got a kid that's driving the team down, that's draining you as a coach, you're putting more time and energy on that kid. And I think you just need to be encouraged as a coach. I'm not going to reach everybody. And like what Lou just said, I think is really good is, maybe there's something better for you, or there's another place for you, but this isn't it right now. And just, you think of those kids we're wanting to get rid of or we're let go of, they're not that happy anyway. So,
you have to decide what kind of program you are. If you're mainstreaming, give as much attention as you can. But if he can't get up and running or whatever, then you start. If you keep that person on, they rob from everybody else on the team, and that's where you have to balance it.
Well, we have an issue on our team right now about that of a kid who's not putting out, and attitude-wise, and wants more minutes to play, and missed 2 practices, came to the wrong practice yesterday before the game. So when it came game time, we just didn't play him till late in the 4th quarter. And by that time, we put him in, and he literally was like just walking up and down the floor. And even his teammates started yelling at him, and now we're at a position where what are we going to do with this kid? Do we keep him on the team, or do we just say, you know what, you're not happy anymore, if you go to a rec league, go somewhere if you want to play more. You're not good, So it struggles as a coach. And, the bottom line is we all have all kinds of things swirling around us, and how can I remain balanced as I'm entrusted with all these people around me, and kids that were honored and responsible to coach, and to try to keep my own heart right in the midst of the frustration, with the issues when the wheels come off or when they're going well. And, coaching is an incredible adventure, and it's amazing how we're just driven backward all the time, even as much as it drives us crazy. And, we're here to just continue a journey together that we can all be better at, and feel like I'm building a stronger foundation. So when those issues come, I'm able to respond with wisdom and love instead of just react. And pretty soon I'm doing whatever things I regret later. In fact, I remember it was Mike, if you're still on Mishler, from Gary. I'll never forget one of the quotes he said, "I want to coach with less regrets." And I just have never forgotten that. And I think of how many coaches were all saying that. I leave practice, and I wish I would have done something differently there. I had the bungee cord with my words, and, how can we start coaching with less regret so that I feel more fulfilled and satisfied as a coach?
Yeah. Guys, one of the things that we've said is that the word coach was first used in the English language to refer to a horse-drawn carriage. And the purpose of that carriage, that coach, was to move people from where they are to where they want to go. And we're all coaching. And we've got a lot of questions about how do I get more engaged, how do I get more involved, when's the next webinar, how do I join the network? We'd like you to go, if you're interested in that, go to coachingforlife.us, and you can see how you get engaged from a coaching staff, a school, a classroom, a family. We really think that we've created a way to engage in all those areas. We're excited about tonight. It's been a great night. Wade and Lou, awesome job. We look forward to the next webinar. And all you guys that are interested in continuing this journey and this process and this constant community of encouragement and empowerment, take a look at coachingforlife.us, and Todd's got it up right now, and see how you can engage in not only the webinars, but there's so many other tools that we have that make character development a reality in your family and in your team and in your business. Any last comments, Wade or Lou?
Good night.
No, sorry we went long tonight. It was our first one right out of the gate. We promise we'll tighten it up a little bit next time. But the content's great. We appreciate you seeing the list of the coaches. Those that we know out there, we're encouraged you're here for the new ones. We look forward to meeting you down the line as this continues to grow. And keep up the great work and have a wonderful rest of your week.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Good night.
Night.